Pay attention, please. We have the first speaker up, David Kendrick Jr. He's got quite an inspirational story for you. So, David, come on up.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
My name is David Kendrick. I serve as the president of Decatur. And first, let's give a round of applause for TerriFest so far. First annual TerriFest in the best place in the world, Decatur County, Georgia. All right, so a little bit about me, some background about me. Do we have any military veterans in the crowd tonight, or anybody that ever served in the military? Oh, we have a couple. Okay, well, I joined the Army in 2005. I'm originally from Rochester, New York, and I joined the Army as a Cavalry Scout. And in 2006, my unit deployed to Iraq, and in 2007, I was shot in both legs by a sniper. And that pretty much ended my military career. And I saw everything that veterans go through when it comes to our mental health. There's a stat by the VA, up to 20 veterans a day, I believe in 2019, were dying from suicide. And after my injury, I was assigned to a unit called the Warrior Transition Unit. I was stationed at Fort Carson, Colorado, in Colorado Springs. And in this unit, I saw this darker side of the Army that not too many people talk about. We were all young. I was injured when I was 20 years old. I went to Iraq when I was 19. And I came back, and there was a bunch of other young guys and women as well who were coming back addicted to opioids, abusing their pills with medication and things like that, because we didn't quite know what the outlook was going to be coming out of a war and what our injuries were going to be like after being injured in Iraq. And there were so many people who were injured during my time that it was called the bloodiest year of the war by the New York Times. And so I was assigned to this unit, and in this unit, I saw firsthand what PTSD was. I felt it myself. I didn't know exactly what my life was going to be like when I came home to Rochester. But when I came home, my family didn't know how to support me. My friends didn't know how to treat me. And I was 23 years old, feeling like joining the Army was a mistake. And with no family to really talk to, no friends who really understood anything about the military life, I turned to drugs and alcohol myself because I didn't know I was going through my own PTSD battle. And so every single night I had a routine. I would go hang out with one of my good friends, and then I would go get drunk, recover the next day, and repeat that same pattern around 7 p.m. at night. And because I had no one around to tell me that this wasn't normal, that was my new normal. That was who David Kendrick was as a civilian. Until one day, I got into a program for veterans who needed help transitioning from military to civilian life. And in this program, we had group therapy sessions. And there were other veterans there, both male and female, who were injured in Iraq or Afghanistan, or who just needed help transitioning from military to civilian life. And we were all going through the same thing. Some of us had suicide attempts. Some of us lost family, lost friends in the military, and we're continuing to do so because the war lasted 20 years. And I came home in 2010 to a world that I knew nothing about as a civilian. But in this program, somebody noticed that I had a passion for speaking, especially to veterans, and especially about mental health. And the one thing about mental health is it doesn't discriminate. It impacts everyone. And we spend so much time trying to distinguish who we are and how different we are than one another that, we think that we can't talk to each other about mental health. So I contributed the rest of my life to help others who are suffering from mental health because, just looking at me, somebody may see a big guy with a beard or whatever and think that I know nothing about it. But I've been through it, and I'm battling with it every single day. And that's why I decided to dedicate my life to speaking professionally, because you never know what you may hear from somebody else suffering from mental illness that may save your life. or may have someone like me come off stage, and usually somebody says, I thought I was the only one, I didn't know what you were going through, I have someone going through the same thing, so can you help me or help my family member? And that's how I got involved with NAMI. If you don't know what NAMI stands for, it's the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And there's a NAMI in every single state in the country, and then we have what are called affiliates that work within different communities in each state. And one thing you need to be a part of NAMI is something called a lived experience. Because how hypocritical would it be if I didn't have any experience with mental illness, but I got on stage and just guessed what everyone was going through. And that's why I love NAMI, because here in DeKalb County, we have the VA hospital, and I went there in 2018 when I was afraid to go home because I was afraid of myself during this time, because I was going through a lot. And the thing about not having an outlet or not having someone to talk to when you're going through your mental health battles, you turn to drugs or alcohol. And then alcohol, it gives you this liquid courage to do more than just talk to that pretty girl at the bar. It also gives you courage to do things you wouldn't do with a sober mind, like commit suicide. And every single day I had this voice in the back of my head, and it was getting louder and louder and louder and louder, saying, do it, just do it. And luckily I went to my scheduled appointment with my mental health therapist, and I told her for the first time, I'm afraid of myself, and I don't know what's gonna happen if I go back home. I can't go back home. So I went to the VA hospital in Claremont Road, and I got the treatment that I needed. I came out with my own suicide prevention plan that I have now, and every now and then when I'm feeling down in the dumps, I check this plan to make sure that I don't have over 3 of the 5 factors that I felt when I was going to commit suicide back in 2018. Because if I do, I know I need to go back to my therapist immediately and schedule multiple appointments. And that's the greatest thing that being on this stage gives me, is the opportunity to share my story and then be a part of NAMI DeKalb and have my lived experience and share it with other people. Because in DeKalb County, we have all these different tiny cities, and it doesn't matter if you live in a single bedroom apartment in Stone Mountain or if you live in the $1 million homes in Dunwoody. And if you know anybody in those $1 million homes, please let me know, because we should be friends. But it doesn't discriminate. And so what we do at NAMI DeKalb, if you don't know anything about NAMI or NAMI DeKalb, we have multiple programs called Family to Family. We have Connections. I'm going to be starting a program for veterans soon called NAMI Homefront. And that's my way to be able to help my veterans beyond the front lines, because my military career was so short. But the war lasted 20 years. And that's 20 years of trauma that people are going to come back home with. And their parents aren't going to know what to do. Their spouses aren't going to know what to do. Their family members won't have the tools necessary to help them go through their mental health challenge. So what we do, we put people together with other people who are suffering from mental illness, caregivers of individuals who have a mental illness. I take care of veterans who have mental illness, and we just get together and we talk, and we provide resources, all free resources for anybody suffering from a mental illness. Because the last thing you want is to be alone when you're dealing with something like a mental illness. And because it's invisible, you can't actually see it, nobody will ever know what you're going through. So you don't have to suffer alone. And if you need any information on NAMI DeKalb, or if you don't live in DeKalb County, first of all, I feel sorry for you because it's awesome here.
Yeah.
But you can visit www.nami.org and find your local affiliate. And if you can't find any other affiliate, you can contact NAMI DeCab. Our information is out on the table up front. But what we do is we give people a second chance at life. And through great events like this, like TerriFest, which is the first annual one, we keep people's memories alive as well. And we help others who are suffering make sure that they don't have to suffer alone or suffer in silence. And that's what we do at NAMI DeCab. So I'd like to thank you very much all for your time. We have a medical professional coming up after me, because one thing about speaking, I get to share my experience with veterans, with men and women and things like that, but I'm not a medical professional. But what I find is through the art of communication, healing can take place. Just by sharing your story with somebody, because you never know what somebody else is going through, and you never know if you're going to be able to heal someone else just with your story. Somebody who may be on the brink of suicide or thinking about harming others. Because the thing with mental health, and I know this firsthand, it impacts your family members and your loved ones first. And you never know the value of someone's life until you see somebody struggling. And then you have so many people who want to support you to make you sick. But it shows how important you are in this world. And when you say something like, I'm thinking about committing suicide, or I'm just not feeling good, or people notice that you've been drinking more, abusing drugs more, it really shows the impact that you have on other people's lives. I would like to thank you very much for this opportunity to let me come up here and run my mouth. If you want to get in contact with me, or if you have an organization or anything like that that wants to know more about NAMI DeCab or NAMI in general, I'll be here after I walk off stage here. There's information pamphlets up front. And if you need more information on NAMI DeCab, or if you would like to become a member, you can visit us at www.namidecab.org. Thank you all for your time.